this lecture we will discuss about comparative analysis of product design. Okay, so some actually messages, how this can be actually dealt with giving information, because the major actually challenge in today's time is about the lack of awareness about several stuff. Mostly when we actually go for a sustainability related actually issues, and solving them, and then we will realize there is actually immense, the gap, the information gap is there between what needs to be done and what people actually know. So how this design actually, how this actually this this communication gap can be actually bridged, so there could be like a n number of like a solution, as you can see in this image over here. So how a simple actually cardboard box, can communicate to its like a user or the handler, like that it's not a piece of trash, so it should not be thrown into the garbage, rather it should be actually sent to the recycling unit. you know so there is an immense actually need for the people to understand, like how they can close the cycle. As we saw in the like a previous slide, a simple actually product, a simple actually an item, of like a cardboard, people are not aware, and they throw it into the like a garbage bins, and they actually get mixed up with the other like organic stuff and other like a material, and it gets actually polluted, and it becomes like a even more like a confusing and like a challenging to segregate these pieces of like a, the materials, the solid waste which are thrown from like any household or any like a institution, like a campuses, etc., or maybe a neighborhoods. So the closing the cycle, so how this message can be actually given, so that a lot of a huge amount of this trash and this waste which is generating on like a daily basis can actually be taken care of at the unit level, at the house level itself, so that it doesn't ends up in the like a wrong places, creating a huge actually amount of this waste which becomes like a unmanageable to actually handle. So some what could be the actually objectives and approaches for like industrial ecology, if we are referring from these previous slides. So a development of conceptual structures for the understanding and evaluation of the impacts of industrial systems on the environment, and for the implementation of strategies targeted at reducing the impacts of products and processes. So this we must actually address, because if we want to deal with the closing the cycles, and handling a product once it's like a life, when it's like a usage is over. Further, conversion of the linear structures of like industrial systems, where raw materials are like usually transformed, used, and dumped, you know to a cyclical structures, the one which we spoke of in the previous illustration, where the outgoing flows of resources are used as input by other processes of transformation, so that a waste generated from like a one industry or one place can become the raw material of like another actually process. So this is how we can actually close the cycle, and prevent actually the immense amount of these garbage which is creating in the actually recent times. Lastly, harmonization between the processes, making of life cycle of products, between different interacting life cycles, between the system of life cycles and the environment. So like a continuous actually, the movement, in terms of like the uses, the discardal, again using it as a raw material, then again processing, uses, discardal. So this will actually keep on going and going and going and going, reducing the actually waste generated from like any of these processes which are adopted. Thus like it will save the environment, like we have discussed in the chapter in the lecture of this pollution. Pollution is like a condition which was famously said by the Buckminster Fuller. Pollution is a condition where a resource is present at the wrong place, so we must actually prevent the materials and the components and the items, reaching to their like wrong places. We must always keep them at their right places, so that they can be used, and they should not become actually a polluting entity for like others. Further, with these objectives, industrial ecology proposes the application of an integrated approach to the management of environmental impacts correlated to the use of all the resources in place, such as like energy, materials, economic capital, etc., in the context of industrial ecosystems. To optimize resource use, F. A. Frost and M. Yunohara said managers need a better understanding of the metabolism, use, and transformation of materials and energy in industrial ecosystems, better information about potential waste sources and uses, and improved mechanisms, markets, incentives, and regulatory structures, etc., that encourage systems optimization of material and energy use. So this is how actually, if we pay attention to the the material and its like energy consumption and the kind of its like a worth in the like a economic actually market, we can utilize it in a more efficiently while by closing actually the cycle of it. Well, what are the approaches for like optimal environmental performance? So reduction of scrap and waste, allowing a more efficient use of resources and a decrease in the volumes of refuse, and more generally a reduction in the impact associated with the management of waste materials. Optimal management of materials consisting of the correct use of the materials on the basis of the performance required in their recovery at the end of the product's life and in the reduction of toxic or polluting materials. Optimization of production processes consisting of the planning of processes that are energetically efficient and result in limited emissions. Improvement of the product with the particular regard to its behavior during the phase of use to reduce the consumption of resources or the need for additional resources during its operation. So here if you see in this like illustration, this speaks about overview and relations between concept, tools, approaches to the environmental questions. So you see like on this x-axis we have this manufacturing, use, disposal, etc., like upper normal like a product life cycle. Then we have a relatively more than that a longer like a human life cycle, life actually time like such as like a how a human, like how long a human actually lives, and then on the longer scale of this time we have this civilizational aspect. So we have this civilizational span over here. Okay, so this is on the like a temporal extent, and on the spatial extent we have a starting from like a short duration like a use, a product life cycle, the manufacturing, use, disposal, etc. Then we have industrial system which they actually produce this like a industrial ecology. Then we have the overall like a society. Okay, so this is how actually it works like a, this product life cycle. Then we have this industrial ecology, then we have this sustainable development. So if we take care of like a such actually like a, the products and the material overall in such a way so that it sustains for like a very long period of time, that format will become like a sustainable actually developing actually model. So this is what it means from like this table over here. And any actually system, any like a product, it involves certain like a consumption of material and the energy. As you can see from this illustration, it produces like a certain like a direct and indirect emissions while being manufactured, while it's in use, and then we see actually the final product coming from here. So from here on we will discuss about like a some like a life cycle design strategies on like a transversal product manufacturing level, product use level. So these are actually guidelines over here given. This we have discussed in the chapter of in the lecture of life cycle analysis, but I have kept it here again because we are going to discuss some actually product examples. And before we actually go for those examples, it is important for us to understand what kind of strategies, what kind of approaches we are going to take, to address maybe one problem at a time. For example, design for like a disassembly, design for like a an extend actually uses of like a lifetime and etc. So these are actually some environmental like effects caused by these are listed over here. Further some like design parameters, design strategies, and environmental strategies. Okay, so like if you see at the system level, at the like a component level, so how like the environmental strategies of like a useful life extension, end of life like a recovery may actually apply, and how we can actually take use of these actually strategies, and Finally, we will discuss about like influence of external factors and product durability over here. So applying strategies for the extension of the useful life and recovery at the end of life is in general conditioned by a wide range of factors determining its effectiveness. The evaluation of these factors is therefore essential for a correct implementation of these strategies in product development. In this respect, external factors conditioning the life expectation of a product are of particular importance. So the functional life, the period of time for which need for the product is predicted to last. The technological life, the period of time that ends when the product is so technologically obsolete that it must be replaced by another based on superior technology. Economic life, the period of time that ends when the product's economic obsolescence is such it must be replaced by another characterized by analogous performance but costing less. Finally, like a social and legal life, the period of time that ends when changes in the desires of the consumer or in normative standards require the product to be replaced. So these are actually different lifespans mentioned for like any product, like from starting from like functional to technological to economic to like a social and legal life. So one can understand like at what point of time in what at the which moment in the time on the like this the passage of time product is going to like exist in any given condition, and there may be another product which will actually replace the previous product in the like next time in the next time frame based on like a certain these are like conditions. So from here and onwards we will see some examples of like a product designs used by different designers across the world, how they have actually tried to address the issues of like a sustainable development and how this consumerism can be actually addressed. So we will see a wide number of actually application of the strategies which we have discussed in our like previous lectures fructifying in these actually through these designs. So the first one here, this is an actually origami bottle which is collapsible and is reusable. So when this actually bottle is not in use, or maybe if you have exhausted the water, maybe you can simply fold it and you can keep it inside your bag. So it won't consume actually much space which it consumes when it is like a filled. So the 1 liter of space can be reduced to maybe 50 or 100 ml of like space. So there will be a significant actually saving in terms of space up to like a 90%. Another actually example from like a Electrolux company, so they have actually created a vacuum cleaner made entirely from like recycled materials up to like 100%. So you see like a this is actually consciousness and the effort given by a company which has resulted into a product which is 100% actually recycled. This next one, if you see, this is a like a recycled connection, bags made from like recycled PET bottles, these PET bottles which we keep in our like a houses, in our like a refrigerators for drinking or like a cooling waters. And also that is one of the actually hardest materials to decompose and degrade on its own. It takes a very long actually period of time for that bottle to actually go away completely from the like a it's like existence in the nature. you know so how these bottles can be actually recycled into like making some other products. So this is one of the actually best examples. Entire actually product range is developed out of these PET bottles. Further, we have seen actually fly ash bricks, which use this fly ash, which is actually a byproduct of like this thermal industry, which are run on like a coal. So how this fly ash can be further utilized into different other actually products, other like a the things for like creating those things. So this is one of the examples. These outdoor chairs are actually casted into from this fly ash actually this material. Further, we have this beautiful example over here. This is from like a Canadian architect Andrea Links, designed by Decay by Design project. So you see this material, so how to design a world without waste. So that is actually motto, that is the entire actually the main actually theme of this this project and this artifact what you are seeing in front of you. So this is a cocoon for biotransformation made of like a laser cut chitosan cellulose composite, photo by like a like a LE cementling. So you see, like this material uses these natural ingredients. So and over the time, it decomposes. It just goes back to the nature, as like organic material. So how beautiful it is! It's like a natural material, so replicating the natural actually system we have discussed earlier. For example, when a tree or a plant actually dies, it falls on the ground. It starts decomposing, decaying on its own without leaving any like a toxic like effluents or any like a toxic emissions. So this is how this product also will behave once it is like a discarded, once it is left over, once it is left in the like a system. Further, we have this water bottle, which was also actually manufactured from the actually completely waste, which was actually collected from the like a garbage, outside. So further, like segregation of these different materials, creating again these individual actually these threads, these plastic beads, the other materials like glass, etc., and recycling them to create like again the new water actually bottles. So this is one of the actually beautiful examples of reusing actually the materials, reusing the waste. Another example here, so in this one actually it talks about the like the Apple computers, this iMac, and how they have actually managed to reduce the power consumptions once the computer is in sleep mode. So from consuming like a 35 watt in a year 1998, in the recent years it has a the power consumption while the computer is in sleep mode is reduced to like a up to like a 0.9 watt, resulting into like the power saving at a huge scale. So here are some beautiful examples like how actually repurposing can work, to create actually interesting designs. So you see here like this is a upcycled bottle and a fallen piece of like a wood, how they have been like a utilized for creating this interesting design of like a this a table lamp. So it's all like there is actually need for this ingenuity and creativity to adopt actually such discarded actually materials, to repurpose them. Otherwise they will be simply thrown and they will become like a part of the garbage. So we must actually put in our like a creative thoughts together and think of actually applying some like a ways to repurpose actually these discarded materials, because they are very much fit for like a for like a several other types of like application, even if they have like a exhausted their functional life. For example, this water bottle, if it has served its like a liquid, its content, now it has become like a useless. So like how it can be like a repurpose. So the second is like it can go for like a recycling, it can go back to its like a origin of the original factory, and then you can again fill in the same actually liquids, the same content, and it can come to like to the shop. But again, if we feel if you can actually rework some kind of like a repurposing. So one of the actually beautiful examples in this actually slide. Further, if you see like we have this shower pad. So usually we take this longer actually sometimes we end up actually using showers for like a longer period of time. So how we can actually pre-program it so that it reminds us like how much of water we have actually used in taking a shower. And also one of the examples taken over here does exactly that thing. Further, how this fresh rainwater actually can be utilized for with the simple actually process of filtration can be actually repurposed for like the direct actually consumption. So this is one actually a visualization you can see over here. The rainwater which is coming from the terrace is going directly into the water bottles. It's getting filled, and it can be actually taken by the users. Further, there is this cradle to credit actually certified actually products, which are being actually made in different parts of the world. So this is one example of like this company. You can see the brand name is like a Beluga. The company's name is Rasby Textiles Private Limited. They have received this cradle to cradle certification of like the platinum actually. And the bifurcation, if you see, of this cradle to cradle certified product scorecard. So for the material health, all they have received platinum. Material reutilization, renewable energy and carbon management, water stewardship, social fairness, In all of these, they have received actually this platinum category, and in overall certification, they have received platinum as well. So you can see this the design and the finished over here. From any angle, it doesn't looks like that it has come from like a recycled actually source. So how the value actually can be created from like a going for like a such methods. So there are some more examples I have taken from this site, which provides this certification of like a cradle to cradle actually certification for the products. So in this one, the company actually makes this a range of like this piping solutions of like different diameters, and it's like a joineries, etc. So this has also received this cradle to cradle gold actually certification. You can see over here. So in the material health, well, the material health is like a has scored this platinum. So that means the material which was used in this product is of the excellent condition and in the excellent actually quality. So it shows like how much of potential these actually materials have, which are like a simply like a discarded or like a thrown at their like a first use. So how well these materials can be reintegrated into the system is the purpose of actually this cradle to cradle actually certification, to promote actually such products. So we must actually strive for achieving like a such levels of like a functioning of these materials. Further, we have another example of this wood. You see over here the picture. So this has received again like a gold actually certification. We have another over here like a food grade actually bottles. So this has also received this gold certification. Then we have these the other like liquid actually containers. This for like cleaning agents or some other types of like detergents, etc. This also has received this gold certification. So it shows like there is immense like a potential, but we need a system in the place, and we need actually this actually a mechanism in the place. And first of all, we need to have that intention that yes, we are going to do this. So once that is there, of course it's not impossible to go for like designing such projects, such products. Finally, we have this example of like a sustainable water container made of like a recycled paper. So you see like with this like a look and feel and the overall like a design like a factor, like it looks one of the beautifully designed actually products, but it is made up entirely from this like a recycled paper. So and again, once like it is discarded and like used, it can go back again for the like some kind of like a repurposing and reusing in the like pulp industry. Further, we have this actually toothpaste packaging solution. So why to need this actually external carton? Because this actually facilitates the storage and transportation. So without this also, this can be actually stored and transported. So like how this component is actually completely like a removed from this actually the packaging of this toothpaste. So you see from the here like a designer's like a angle, like how they have actually come up with this solution and this material, actually the choice of the material. Next we have this actually a bottle which is created out of this material. So this is taken from like the algae. So algae is like a naturally like a occurring actually material, and so once it is like a discarded, you see this gradation shown over here. It goes normally back to its like a decomposed form, and finally it disintegrates into the soil, and it goes into its like a molecular actually form. So such like organic materials can be actually taken ahead for like designing like a several types of like a consumerism like a products which we use generally in and around us, so which will benefit actually the overall like a ecological actually quotient. So as a giving a direction to the as a adopting the strategy for like a sustainable design, you can see over here. So like a designing like a for a product service system like a models which we have discussed in the lens chapter, designing for like a producer like a stewardship, designing for like a dematerialization, how to minimize the consumption of the material or the components, designing for like a remanufacturing, recyclability, repairability, reusability, disassembly, system change, longevity, efficiency, modularity, influence, and equity, So these are the actually strategies one can understand. If you keep in mind even one and design your product, design your actually project, there is a huge chances of actually positive impact on the system, minimizing the actually negative impact. So with this lecture we tried to understand the kind of efforts given by designers and manufacturing companies from across the world, how they are doing it, how they are dealing with this sustainable development in their own ways. So this is worth actually replicating, worth propagating. We must actually understand this lesson from this actually lecture. Okay, so the next big change coming in design, what I see, is this circular design. So you must keep this message in your mind. With this, we have come to the end of this lecture. Thank you, everyone.